Alright everybody, before we start the video, I just want to announce that I am giving a giveaway on my channel. We're trying to reach 200 subs, and once we do that, we'll be giving out a Lorcana pin that was given out at Gen Con. We'll also be giving out a starter deck, and also we'll be still giving out the Lorcana Mickey Mouse promo from Gen Con as well, which I think is still like $100. So we're trying to reach 200 subs. Help me do that. Hit the subscribe button down below somewhere over here, and I'll link you to the video in the contest below. Hey everyone, AladdinsCastle here. Today I'll be bringing you guys a deck profile. I know I haven't been uploading a lot of stuff lately on my channel. We actually just got back from Japan a couple weeks ago, so that took up a lot of our time. And recently I was able to switch my schedules around at work, so I'm able to consistently go to locals now. So I'm excited to bring you guys some content for the channel. Today I'll be bringing you guys Amber Ruby. It's been something that I've been playing for the last 2 weeks or so, and my only losses were really to aggro/green. Because it's just so aggressive and they bounce a lot of your characters back to your hand, so it's really hard to kind of maneuver that matchup. So I'm still kind of figuring out ways to combat it. And I know the deck is on a rise too. Steadfast the other day just posted up a profile coverage on it the other day, I think with Ducky, and the deck's been really picking up steam. So it's cool to see that layout. I don't recommend this deck unless you have like a lot of the expensive cards. That's the only drawback really, is like you're playing for Rapunzels and a lot of the red cards are expensive. So if you don't have access to those cards, it's going to be really tough. Otherwise, it's not super budget friendly. And then also if you know the meta, I think you could maneuver it pretty well. It does well with a lot of the other decks out there. Amethyst Ruby has a decent matchup if you're able to get out Rockstar Stitch. And then Amber Steel is okay too as well, especially mid to late game. So has a lot of good matchups, but just Emerald you got to be a little careful with. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead straight to the deck profile. I'll start off with my 1-cost ink cards. We start off with 4 Stitch, New Dog. He's a great 1-cost play, 2/2, just your standard. And then with cards like Lantern, you could always shift into your bigger Stitch on turn 3, which is the ideal play. That happened several times, just being able to shift into the big Stitch. Next I'm running 2 Minnie Mouse. I'm just testing her out. I think she's pretty good. She's just like an Olaf. She's a big body, she could be really aggressive, and she could withstand, you know, a lot of the early game 1-cost 2/2s. So she's there. And she also helps for Stitch Rockstar fodder, you know, just being able to protect it and draw from there. Next we play 4 Gastons. You got to play him because of Emerald. He just can crash into Cusco unless they like bounce his card back to your hand, which does happen depending, you know, on the player skill and their consciousness about it. But that 4 attack is just so powerful, and it could just take out so many low-cost cards. And you play it with other cards too that synergize, obviously with Stitch also as well. Next I play 3 LeFou. He synergizes also in this deck. He could restand your characters when he comes into play. So your big Aladdin that you shift with turn 7, you could quest or attack with Aladdin, ready him with LeFou's effect, and then you could attack again or challenge with Aladdin as well. So that's the best use out of this. You could also ready up like your Stitch Rockstar, so you could attack or challenge or quest, and then ready him up again, and then maybe your Stitch could challenge another player, and then you could heal it with Rapunzel after that. So it's a lot of like cool plays that you could play just by readying characters with LeFou. Next I ran the Amber LeFou. He's mainly there just to pressure with aggro. He's a 2-cost lore, but also he synergizes with Gaston. When you do have Gaston in play, it costs you 1 less ink to play. So it could help with those, you know, aggro plays that you just want to play LeFou for like 1 ink and then play another card for the rest of the ink. But yeah, it really demands an answer early game. Otherwise, you're just going to be questing for 2. And then the last 2-cost ink is Lantern. This card is so good, especially in this version where you're running Stitch. Being able to just shift Stitch on turn 3 is just so strong. And there's very little removal when that happens in the game that early. But also shifting your Aladdin a turn early also is really powerful too against aggro, which really helped. There were some games where I kind of mistimed a lot of that stuff, but it's really powerful to shift early and kind of get your quest or challenges with Aladdin or Stitch. I didn't want to run 4 because I felt
you make me
4
a
was a
prince?
little too clunky. Just testing hands a lot. I drew this so many times, and there were times where I didn't even need a second lantern, just because, you know, just with the amount of ink that you have mid to late game. I think 3 is perfect, but you could always play 4 if you want. Onto the 3-cost ink, we run Aladdin. He saved me so many games. There are a couple matchups where you're just so close in lore in the lore race, and just bringing them out down to 1 lore is just really good, especially if you see him like 2 times a game. And then shifting him into the big Aladdin really helps you against the aggro, which is mainly why I play it too, just for the shift. But it's really good. It's bad in some matchups like Steel, but you know, you keep him out so that you could shift into the big Aladdin with Lantern. 4-cost ink, we run Rapunzel. She's one of the best cards in the game for a reason. She could potentially draw you 3 cards, and she's just really powerful, just healing, drawing, and questing for 2. So if you're playing Amber, you're playing 4 of Rapunzel just because she's just that good. There's a reason why she's expensive, and that she could draw 3 cards. So it's always going to be seen playing, and it just helps the deck draw all your cards and all your pieces. Another one of my favorite cards, which is going to be even better in the next set, which is 4 You Have Forgotten Me. There are so many times where your opponent has maybe 2-3 cards left in hand. If they're trying to go wide, they're putting items on the board, they're losing cards out of their hand. The right timing of this, you could just discard their whole hand and they're just top decking for the rest of the game. This card is really powerful against like Ruby Amethyst when they don't have a big hand size and they don't have a lot of cards that could ink. They have a lot of uninkables, so when you play this, they're kind of forced to keep, you know, whatever important cards they have, otherwise they can't ink to their later turns. So it really puts you know, a detriment on them just because it forces their plays to be a little bit more awkward. And then against certain decks like that don't draw a lot, this is also really powerful too. So like Sapphire, Emerald, they also don't draw big, so this is really good against those matchups. And then I run 2 Hades because Hades loop is really crazy. When you play Hades, you could return a character card from your discard pile back to your hand. So if you already have a Hades in your discard pile, you could just keep looping it back and forth so that you can kind of get like coverage and save your hand. But you could also get like your important pieces, like your Aladdin's back, your Stitch's back. So it's a really, really strong card. You could play obviously more too. I just wanted to be conscious about my uninkables. Because I think maybe I run 10 uninkables in this deck. 5 cost, Maui. Maui's like MVP. It does so much. It has Rush and Reckless, so you could take out a lot of like problem cards, Cusco, even bigger cards too with the high defense, Tinkerbells, whatever have you. And then if it does damage back, you could always heal with Rapunzel, and you could draw 3 cards. So Maui is just a really powerful drop, and you could even drop them on turn 4 with Lantern, so it just helps with the tempo and just being able to challenge back and forth. Next is 3 Dragonfire. It's just a really powerful removal. When you're playing Ruby, you got to play this too. Things that like Quest for 3 that are really annoying, like Mad Hatter or other Stitches. You know, it's just really strong to get rid of like the really annoying cards. Also, if you're playing against like Evasive, I run some Evasive in here, but not a lot. It just gets rid of those problem cards too. I just think it's really good to have spot removal in this game, especially for next meta too. Next, we run 4 Stitch Rockstar. This is like your main play. You could kind of aggro out some decks too, especially against Ruby Amethyst. You could get this out on turn 3 and then just start dropping your low drop cards and then getting value by drawing cards from it. Stitch, Quest for 3 also, so it demands an answer from your opponent. They always target this, and then if it goes away, you can always Hades it back to hand too as well, and then shift Stitch again and just, you know, do some crazy plays. But very powerful, and you could also heal 3 from Rapunzel too if you want to challenge other characters. Next, I run 3 Tigers. With Lantern out, this is basically like a Goofy on turn 5, but with better stats. Quest for 2 has Evasive, which is important, and the 4 Strength is just really important too to go against really powerful evasive cards like Pongo or mirror matches like Goofy too as well. because Goofy only has 3 strength, so this will at least survive. So it's great for those matchups, just the Emerald Ruby matchups. And yeah, you can see it early, and your opponent has to get rid of this card too. Then onto my 7-cost ink cards, or 4-cost with shift if I have Lantern, is Aladdin. This card saved me so many games. Just to be able to shift Aladdin out turn 4, turn 5, whatever turn it is. He could challenge characters, they lose a board, you gain 2, they lose 2. It's just such a big tempo swing. And obviously Aladdin's my favorite character, so you got to max out on this. Foil copies or don't even play it. That's coming from me. But yeah, it's a really awesome card. Really great ability. I love the idea of losing and gaining lore, and I'm really excited for the next set, which is going to have more of that stuff. So, I'm going to be tinkering around with that kind of mechanic. Another 7-cost is 3 Surfer Stitch. This card was also really clutch in some games. In addition to Rapunzel, your Stitches, and the big Surfer Stitch, this is your draw engine. So if you have 2 characters in play, you play this, you draw 2. So it really replenishes your hand. It's a big body, quest for 2. It's just really powerful. We also run 3 Be Prepareds, because when it gets a little crazy, sometimes you don't hit your curve. Be Prepared is just like the only card in the game that could just reset cards, and it could put their Cuscos away. It's just really strong. People just got to be prepared about this card all the time, and if they're not, then they're losing their board. So it's a good reset, because you do have some powerful cards too that you could get back, like Stitch and the next card that we'll see. And then the final 4 cards that I play is 4 Maleficent. You could bring this out a turn or 2 earlier with Lanterns, which makes it good. But it's just removal too as well, so it's just like Dragonfire but with a body, and it's just really strong. So in the late game, if you don't survive early game with Stitch, Rockstar, you could go in the late game with Aladdins, with Maleficents, and all that. So yeah, that's my deck. I think it's a very good deck. I think it has really good answers and matchups in the meta. It can counter a lot of things like you saw. It's really good. It can aggro and pressure with Stitch, Rockstar. And if it goes mid to late game, you could have big cards like Aladdin that could pressure the characters, and also Maleficents to banish the characters. So I think it's a really good deck. In the right hands, I think it's going to be really strong. And I know there's a PPG event over the weekend. Shout out to PPG. They're having the biggest Lorcana tournament ever so far. And I think you'll probably see this deck maybe top 8. Who knows? That's my prediction on the deck. And I'm having a lot of fun with it because it's something different. But I understand it's very hard to get the cards. So if you guys don't have the cards, there's obviously some like substitutions for it. But if you don't have the Rapunzels or like some of the red cards, I don't advise playing it, because Rapunzel is just like your main draw engine, and Ruby just doesn't draw cards. So that's your reasoning for also playing Amber Ruby. So, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching. There'll be a lot more videos. I appreciate everybody who's seen a lot of my shorts. Hopefully that keeps you guys entertained for the real content coming up. But definitely we'll have more deck profiles and hopefully footage from other bigger events, or maybe even our locals events too, so you guys can see how that goes. But yeah, thank you guys. If you haven't subscribed already, show some love. We'll see you guys next time. AladdinsCastle signing out. Peace.